Hey, hey, let's chat. You know the drill. Let's turn me down. Okay, so today's chat, I want to talk energy exchange. Energy exchange is one of the things that we do constantly. We are constantly exchanging energy with one another, good, bad, and indifferent. The spirit world is always exchanging energy with us. We need to learn how to receive that energy, communicate, and give it off as well. We have to learn to share the energy back with the spirit world, right? Or the ethers. So let's chat about it. Okay, so the most powerful energy exchange is sexual. This isn't nothing new. Sex rules everything right now, right? So anytime one is enticed sexually, the energy exchange is quadrupled. It can be a lustful thought, it can be a lustful moment, it can be a loving sexual exchange. But the point is that exchange is extremely spiritual, even in its darkest space. What do I mean by darkest space? I mean, even in the spaces where the sexual interaction is malicious, where the sexual interaction is not warranted, where the sexual interaction is seen as um, deplorable, where it's seen as, unfitting and just disgusting. Think terms of how they treated R. Kelly and Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby. Um, that type of sexual energy, other sexual energy like Epstein and his whole squad, like all of that type of energy. It's all spiritual. So no matter how much we would love to judge them and how much we would love to be the decision makers on their choices of sexual exchange, has nothing to do with us. It's so um, out of our hands. It's very divine. And I don't know how to really explain that, except that we make choices that suit us and our spiritual self at that moment. And in their moments of spiritual exchange, who knows why? Who knows what? You know? Um, I'm not here to talk about them though. I'm here to talk about us and how we interact, right? How we interact utilizing our sexual energy or any energy at this point, because I want to start from the top. And let's start with how we meet people, right? So, meeting people, we're going into that interaction phase again. So, meeting people, we are giving off sexual energy, especially if we're going knowing that we're going there to attract. So, let's say we're going out to a club, or we're going out to dinner with someone that we met, or we're meeting people on Facebook. Sexual energy, it travels the ethers, right? It travels the internet, it travels the interaction space, right? Across the room type thing. Once this happens, once the interaction happens, once we connect in whatever way that we're connecting, once we get there, the energy decides, right? It decides where we're taking it. We have eye contact, and yes, I see you, you look amazing, and I want a part of that, right? Boom, we connect. This connection is very, very spiritual. It is not physical, in spite of what you may decide that it is. Oh, it's only physical. I don't think nothing of it. It's only physical. Yeah, it was only physical for that moment. But the truth of the matter is, once the exchange happened, it was very, very spiritual. So, sex energy is just our spirit expressing itself in the physical form. This is how spirit speaks. And what is it saying? Right? What is it saying? Let's talk about your sexual style. Are you loving? Are you sensual? Are you gentle? Are you rough? Are you harsh? Do you desire more affection in the times of sexual exchange, or do you want to give more affection? Like, knowing these things about your sexual energy is key to understanding your spiritual self. Now, there is a moment during the sexual exchange where we are giving or taking energy. So it's placed like if whoever goes to sleep was drained of energy, whoever has energy, lots of it, ready to go make breakfast or ready to go again, and this, that, and the other, they were taking the energy, right? Those are the takers. If you're both sleeping, you exchanged energy perfectly. You both took. If you both have energy, you both received. But if one is one way and one is the other way, one gave, one drained. Okay? Pay attention to these things during your sexual interactions. Something else you need to know about sexual exchange is that you are taking on, and this is mainly for the women, you are taking on the sexual energy of the man. So what he's doing is he's plugging in. He's plugging in, and he is basically telling you, listen, I'm locking in here. I'm locking in here. And the second the energy exchange happens, right, he is becoming a part of you. So now you're taking on his spirituality, his mindset, his thought processes, right? So in the later moments where you start wondering, like, oh man, why did I think of that? Or why am I thinking this way? Why is this thought happening? Why is that thought happening? You're really processing their thought processes, right? You're really taking on their being, so to speak, at least a portion of it. You are relating more with them than you could possibly know, and vice versa. So once they plug into you, and again, the exchange happens, they take on parts of you as well. So if you're very spiritual and they're just, kind of still worldly, they're going to take on some of your spirituality, some of your spiritual thoughts. And this may trigger them to be awakened. This may trigger them to research some things and figure out why this is that way and why that is this way, right? This is dope because if this person is seeking to awaken and they exchange with an awakened being, they become awakened. They become empowered. And even though they weren't expecting it, they know exactly, or they will know exactly how to move through it. It's actually so fascinating how this works. And I firsthand have seen the process happen numerous times. We call it transference, right? Where we have sex with someone and we transfer our energy to them, or they transfer their energy to us. Um, be mindful of this, especially if the person you're transferring to is having multiple exchanges. If these exchanges are happening in close proximity, your energy is going to be transferred to the person that they're exchanging with. Um, I have this occurrence, and it was so interesting to see because the person they interacted with at the time, you could see them just blossom into this beautiful awakened being, all because they got a taste of awakened energy. It's hard because your emotions can get involved in that, like, oh, you had sex with this person, blah blah blah. But the truth of the matter is when you are a being of such stature and you see your energy spread, you're a good being, and your good energy spreads to other people who weren't as good as you were. That could be a good thing. That doesn't mean go around spreading your goodness. Like, seriously, keep it to yourself. um the sexual exchange is so important, and we take it for granted horribly. I know that I did, and it was actually my awakening process at the time, and it gave me so much power. Like, I can't even tell you the the journey it took me on was brilliant. It was amazing. It was It was beautiful, right? And once I understood it, I was able to now pull back and be stingy with my energy, right? Be really selective. Now, um, in being selective, this is especially for ladies because ladies, you hold on to the male energy a lot longer than the male energy holds on to you. So you have to do specific things to cleanse their being from you. And that includes spiritual baths, that can include steams, that can include rituals that remove their energy from you. Men, they don't have to go through so much. They too can take spiritual baths. They can take showers that will cleanse this energy off of them. And they can do rituals. So it's a little easier for them to remove women from them. Um, let's see. There's levels, obviously. If you are on the same worldly level, the exchange will be different. It'll just be more worldly attitudes that you're receiving, different attitudes about worldly things. If one of you is spiritual and the other one is worldly, the spiritual one will be a lot stronger than the worldly one, and that energy will be taken over um, the worldly energy, which again is a good thing. And the worldly energy also will have an effect on the spiritual one, but depending on the strength of the spiritual energy, it won't have a negative effect. Although it could. Don't mistake it, right? Don't mistake it. Let's see. What else do we need to know about this energy? Babies are created out of um, sexual expression. So the spirit is expressing itself and it's bringing forth a creation of the two expressions. So if these two expressions serve each other so positively that a being seeks to be created from that, that means something. We call our the father of our children our baby daddies or the mother of our children baby mamas, right? No, they're actually spiritual connectors to bring forth a creation. And if you are lucky enough to have created a being, you really, really need to take that very, very seriously, as well as who you created it with. That person is connected to you in ways that you can't even fathom. So you might want to think twice about how you treat them. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I think that, right. Okay, so I believe what needs to be said here is we need to be more careful with our sexual energy. We need to take control of it. We need to be wise with the decisions we make when we're exchanging sexual energy. We need to really, really take charge of our mental state, our thought processes, our spiritual stability, and our physical hygiene. So I'm not just talking about, whether you stink or not, or whether you have a yeast infection or STDs. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how you are physically capable of adjusting your spirituality to exchange sexually. What does that mean? What do you mean, Tanika, by, physically getting your body together for a sexual exchange? So if your spirituality is expressing itself sexually, right? It takes your physical self to deal with this. If your physical self is not up for the level of spirit that the partner is bringing, you will be depleted. And it's kind of like a reset. And at that reset, you will have to understand um, who you are. You will have to understand where you were, what you were doing, because you will be drained of the knowledge of the sexual energy exchange. It sounds confusing, but I promise you it's really not. The point is that sex is an extremely spiritual act, and you really, really should take stock of who, when, where, and why. Don't take it for granted. Don't use it as, some kind of power trip. Don't do that. And definitely, definitely Don't give who you are to someone who can't handle it. Drop your questions in the comment section, and I will be doing a Q&A on this if necessary. Otherwise, see you next video. Happy October.